Folks, Pat Flynn here, and I want to show you the muscle up. The muscle up is one of my favorite exercises. It's cool, people are impressed by it, so that's always worth something. But it's a good, useful exercise in general as well. It combines pushing and pulling, also an element of proximal pulling, which is unique to the muscle up. You don't usually do a lot of pulling in this very close range position. Helps to develop grip strength. You will need a set of rings. So in this video, I'm going to just break the muscle up, down into, I guess it could be a muscle down too, depending on the direction you're going. So yes, we'll do a muscle up and we'll do a muscle down. And I'll break both of them down. And then we will have a full muscle up. And people are laughing here. I'm keeping this. I'm not doing a retake. So we'll break down the muscle up into its fundamental components. So we'll go do that, and we'll film a few sets so you can see what it all looks like. This is more of a strict muscle up, not a kipping muscle up. They are different. I want to focus on the former rather than the latter. I think it's just a little bit more useful. I think it's good to have that base before you decide to do anything like kipping muscle ups. And we're going to start with the false grip. So check it out.
Okay, next. Same, start. Throw the kick, pull it back, throw the jab, throw the cross, roll. Make sense? Go.
All right, so let's show you the false grip. So here is the setup for the false grip. I want you to notice a few things. One, my wrist is positioned over the ring. So I'm not here, right? This is your classic pull-up, chin-up position. What I need is my wrist joint has to be over the ring, and it has to stay there the entire time I do a pull-up. And what this should feel like, for those of you who are familiar with kettlebells, is the ring should lay across pretty much the same portion of the base of your palm as the kettlebell would in the rack position, right? So it's deep in the base of the palm, like right on the corner of my palm, and then I'm sealing my hand around the ring, and I'm also somewhat angled up the ring. You might not be angled up as much as I am, that's fine, but the key here is maintaining this position. So a lot of forearm strength, good amount of grip strength, and you're gonna have to learn to do pull-ups here, which we're gonna have Alyssa show you now. All right, so Alyssa, since she's working on the muscle up, is gonna show you what the false grip pull-up looks like. She's been working on these, and they're coming along pretty well. So let's see what she's got. So she's going to use a box to set up for the false grip because it might be difficult for you to establish a good false grip from the bottom at first with your elbows fully extended, so that's fine. It's a little bit easier to set your false grip up with your elbows bent and start from the top and work the eccentrics or downward portion of the movement. So there we go. She's keeping the wrists above the rings as best as she can, flexing the wrist hard, and then pulling. Notice how far she pulls. So she's pretty close, right? She'll get that muscle up, I suspect, in the next month. Don't look too excited. It could be 2 months. You never know. Don't look too excited. So can you do another rep? Yeah. Just take your time. Again, you don't want to do a lot of reps at first because the grip is going to tire out. This is a lot of forearm strength here. Right? So again, set up, take your time, flex the wrist really hard. Let's see if we can get a close-up. Again, let's see here. Of hands. So she's gonna pull the elbows down now, but keep the wrists up. So that's again, pull the elbows down, keep the wrists up. She's gonna come all the way down, do a full pull-up, trying to pull through her armpits. That's where you have to go. And then maintain the false grip all the way down. All right, so that is step one, and that is the hardest part. Next part's a little easier. Check it out. All right, so once you're feeling pretty good with the false grip pull-up, the next step is to move through that proximal pulling position, which is, it's the essential critical component that makes the muscle up. It's where your elbows go from pointing down to pointing up. So there's a few things I want you to think about when you're working through this transition phase from the pull-up into the dip. Number one is as you pull, push your chest up. Very proud chest. You might even lean back slightly, and that's okay at first. There's nothing wrong with that. Then once your armpits, once your false grip nears your armpits, you're going to aggressively push your chest through the rings while pulling your hands through your armpits and you're going to pop your elbows up, right? So it's just a pulling through the armpits, a pushing of the chest, and a popping of the elbows. The 3 Ps. Pulling through the armpits, pushing of the chest, popping of the elbows into a very deep dip on the rings. And then from there, it's really an easy finish. So long as you have your base of being able to do dips on the rings, you'll have your muscle up. So let's show a few reps, and then we'll wrap up with a few ways that you can really build up the strength for this. All right, so here we go. Set up the false grip. Push the chest through, pop the elbows up, and then finish.
Okay, number 2. Skip your front, skip your round.
And here's that infamous muscle down that we're talking about.
Let's go. Run, round, side.
Okay, so just a few closing notes about the muscle up. Where do you start? Well, you have to start with practicing just basic pull-ups and dips on the rings. It's great if you can do pull-ups and dips on bars, but the rings are an entirely different animal. You need to learn to develop the stability specifically on the rings, specifically, even more specifically, for the dips, because when you're at the top of the dip on the rings, the key to a good finish is to actually turn the thumbs slightly out or externally rotate your shoulders, which I'll show you another clip. So that way the straps actually are off your shoulders at the top of the dip. So you have a slight external rotation, you're turning your thumbs out, and the straps should not be touching your shoulders at the top of the dip. So that's why you need to practice this specifically on the rings. So you should be able to do at least 5 to 10 solid pull-ups and dips on the rings before you do anything else. From there, you're going to start to work the false grip pull-ups, trying to pull as much through your armpits as you possibly can. And then what else on top of that is you should practice the muscle up in reverse, or as we were joking around before, the muscle down, because it's going to be easier for you to practice that transition phase on the way down than it is the way up. So you're going to come all the way, you're going to cheat your way up however you need to the top of a dip. You're going to come all the way down, and then you're just going to push your elbows down. You're going to push the rings through your armpits into a false grip pull-up. Now the key is to move through that transition phase with as much control as possible. Don't just drop through it. And you will at first because you're not going to have the strength, but over time you want to develop that control so that way you can move through that transition as smoothly as possible. Slow it down. And then from there, once you really have that strength and confidence, you'll be able to do it on the way up. So that's what I have found is a very effective progression for the muscle up. It's not the only one, but it's a good way to build the strength both in the pattern and the joints, because here's the thing. Take your time with this. That very close pulling position, it can be very stressful on the elbows, so don't do these in super high frequency or volume. I only practice muscle ups once or twice a week. I usually do accumulation sets, just 1 rep at a time. That's it. You need to make sure that you take it from somebody who has had elbow tendonitis. It's not fun. Be judicious. Work up to this gradually. All right, so that is the muscle up. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please like, share, and if you have any questions, leave them below. And we will catch you on the next one.